Welcome to Moving Through and Beyond, a podcast dedicated to sharing inspired journeys of redefining life, vision, and purpose after immense hardship and grief. My goal with this podcast is to give you hope and to let my guest journeys inspire you to make the choice to keep looking up. I'm your host, Carey Conley. Hey, everybody, I'm Carey Conley. I'm your host of the Moving Through and Beyond podcast. I get the honor of getting to interview some of the most amazing people on the planet. And some of these people I interview have been dear friends of mine forever. My guest today is a new friend of mine, Barbara Majeski. And I am so honored to have you here, Barbara. This woman, I looked at your bio and all the stuff you're doing, girl, just seriously. I'm like, how do I get to be you? Right? Podcast, you're on the Today Show, Fox and Friends, keynote speaker, all the things. Just so many accolades. So I am honored that you took the time to be here with me today to talk a little bit about your story.
Well, my God, Carey, I'm honored to be here, and I loved meeting you, and your story is wow, just wow. You're an impressive person, as is your daughter. Wow.
Oh,
So I'm
thank
excited
you.
to be here.
I just interviewed her, so we'll see how that goes. It was very emotional for me to get through it, I have to tell you. So thank you for acknowledging that. You know, Barbara and I met just a few short months ago at the ranch of a dear friend of mine and mentor of both of us, Sharon Lecter. And I'm just like in awe of you and everything you're doing. So thank you for being here. And, you know, the purpose of these podcasts, Barbara, is I like yours. I listened to your podcast and your interview with Sharon. It was awesome to bring hope to the world, basically, to let people know that there are people in the world that even though with all the accolades and all the success and everything we're going through that we highlight on social media and our marketing and our websites, that we've been through some stuff, right? And in a few minutes, I'm going to have you share a little bit about that story, but give these guys a little bit of your background, your upbringing, your history, and how you get to be where you are now.
Well, yes. So thank you for that great introduction. So a fun family fact is that I'm a twin. I was an only child for 4 minutes. It was fabulous. I also have I have two younger brothers that are also twins that were born 3 years after Ben and I, Michael and Stephen. And everyone, I was like, oh, wow. But in our family, that's kind of standard. My mother is a triplet. So it definitely
Oh my gosh.
runs the doubles run. But funny thing, I was like, oh my God, how many sets of twins do you have? I have 3 kids, all singles. And I believe God gives you can handle. And God looked at me and was like, oh, we'll give her one at a time. And well played, Master Commander of the Universe. So yeah, I grew up one of 4. I have 3 brothers. I have a brother with special needs. So we also have a condition. Not only are we genetically gifted to multiply, we also have a genetic condition known as Fragile X, which is a lot like Down syndrome. So it's an inherited form of neurological impairment. And he's part of the second set of twins. He's not my twin, but he's Michael's twin. And I just always had a great affection for him. I don't know. I have this kind of spiritual connection where I've always been his caretaker. I just loved him. I thought, he was actually a lot more malleable because I'd be like, let's play Barbies. And he couldn't really speak or anything like that. So I would just like speak for him. And I would tell my parents, oh, for, Hanukkah this year, Stephen wants Barbies, even though he wanted Matchbox cars that he could throw down the kitchen sink. But anyway, I just loved him and I loved taking care of him. And he's just been kind of my moral compass ever since. I'm 49 now, and it still always reminds me of what is love and what is true value, and what really living the good life is all about.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, you told me a little bit about your brother when we met and some of your background. And correct me if I'm wrong, Barbara, you were a stay-at-home mom for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one day you decide, hey, I think I want to be on TV.
Yeah. So
okay, how does one get their own segment on Today's Show?
Okay, so let me back it up. I don't want to go on TV. I'm just going to show up at knock knock Today's Show. Move over, Matt Lauer. You're a bad egg anyway. No, it doesn't quite work that way. But I do want to touch on being a stay-at-home mom for almost a decade. Raising my kids. I have 3 kids. One's now in college, 19, 17, and 11. And people always, this makes me crazy because people are like, oh, I have a gap in my resume. And I'm like, how do you call being a mother a gap? How is that a gap? That is not a gap. You're literally in
Mhm.
boot camp. You're on a sabbatical. You are going to learn how to multitask and how to pivot on a dime and how to be like a leader and a motivator at every age and every level. You're going to learn how to read minds and read you're going to be a psychic. I mean, it always made me crazy. And I think that I had enough wherewithal in my heart to be like, I don't care. This is what I want to do. I'm not living by anybody else's social constructs or anybody else. Like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to reinvent myself when I'm ready. And that's how I hit it. And I do share that because so many people are like, oh my God, it's so hard getting out in the workforce. And I'm like, that's just a narrative and that's a belief. If you
You're
believe
so
it is,
right.
then it will be. If anything, you should really be empowered and be like, you want me on your team because I can get more done in an hour than your, freshman out of, your rookie, somebody fresh off the, the college wheel. It can get in a day. I will get it done in an hour because I got to get to my kids' soccer practice. So I'm not here to play.
Right.
So, but it's a belief, it's a decision. You believe you are worthy of getting back into the
Mhm.
workforce and you are worthy of being a stay-at-home mom and that you should be proud and honored, you will be. And so what ended up happening was in 2015 I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer and it
Mm.
was on the heels of my marriage imploding in a blazing dumpster fire.
I knew you
And
were gonna say dumpster fire. I love
dumpster
that.
fire, because 'cause I'm from Jersey, as a dumpster fire, and it was like right out of a movie, like, text message comes up, and I'm like, "Well, I don't understand what this means."
Mm.
Anywho, dumpster fire, wait for the movie, it should be good. And on the heels of that, I get diagnosed with cancer, and it's not
Mm.
this isn't like, "I'll go into surgery and get this done." It's like, not only are you gonna have a foot of your large intestine removed at 42 because there's a tumor, but it's in your lymph nodes, it perforated the intestinal wall, and you're gonna have 6 months of chemo, and I was like,
Mm.
"No." Anyway, I'm in the middle of chemo and really reflecting on all the things that I was really gonna be proud of if I didn't survive, but the things also crossed my mind of, like, the things that I never pursued, the things that I didn't get to try, the things that I never even though I wanted, I talked myself out of, and I had this great revelation of, like, if I get another shot, I will never let those voices ever stop me again.
Mm.
I'll never let the voices of fear or self-doubt or the weight of other people's opinions, and I've been on that, like, relentless pursuit ever since. Like, once I got to I finished my cancer treatments, got a divorce, did all the things, I was like, "You know what? I would rather fail in the pursuit than fail to pursue anything." Because
Mm.
that was my biggest regret. My biggest regret in that reflection of, like, if I don't survive this, and this is where my story ends, was so much more of, like, what I didn't do and what I didn't see and what I didn't try and what I didn't experience and all the things I talked myself out of, and I was like, "I will fail only in the pursuit." And that's not even failing because you learn through the pursuit of what you maybe weren't meant for.
Right.
Anyway, I got to the other side of cancer. I was like, "All right, I wanna go on TV because I wanna that's it. I live 60 miles outside of the Today Show. I wanna be on the Today Show." Hired a media trainer, and the rest is history, and I know there's a lot to fill in on that, but, that's kind of I was like, "Let's go for it." And when I got to the Today Show, I wanna share this, so important. I got to the Today Show. This is my first booking. My first booking is the Today Show. That's just out of I don't know. It just happened.
Insane.
And well, it is crazy, but there's a lot of serendipity in that. So like in another day, another podcast, I'll tell the whole crazy story. But
Love that.
the real value is that when I walked into that studio, I was like, "I belong here." I had no imposter syndrome. I was like, "I've been here before," because I had been there so many times in my head and my
Yeah.
imagination. I had been there already. I saw myself anchoring the Today Show. I saw myself on the plaza. I saw myself shaking hands with the fans and taking pictures, and I saw myself laughing and almost like messing up sometimes, but knowing that I could just literally get through anything with like a good sense of humor. And so when I got there, I was like, I just made a bagel in the green room. I was like, I'm just gonna sit down and do what I saw myself doing was having a bagel and a schmear. And I never felt like should I have had imposter syndrome? I don't know. Maybe because I was a 42-year-old door-to-door sales girl who had a degree in health education. What I was doing segments on the Today Show, I was like, maybe I could choose that. But maybe I was like, no, I belong here. I'm just a girl living out her dreams, and
Yeah.
everyone should be doing it. So
I love that you were defining it that way because, vision is my jam, right? This is all about how you envision your life and how you need to sit down and write out your vision of everything you want and see. And I know that feeling you're defining because there are places that I've walked into a room with some pretty big name people going, you know what? I feel like I've known these people my whole life, like Sharon, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
and meeting you,
Yes.
same thing. It's like, oh, I know this woman. Yeah,
Mhm,
I love that you're
mhm.
defining that. And I love your quote that you just said about not failing in the pursuit.
Not
Can you
failing in the
say that
pursuit.
again? Yes.
Yeah, just be in the pursuit. I think that's where I had my biggest regret. Like, who was I to say I couldn't do anything? And that mindset not only changed my life, it changed my relationship with my children
Yeah.
because I had so many cancer and my marriage falling apart had so much like it's like the universe was like, hold my beer and let's see what you're going to do with these two doozies. One, boom, boom, boom. Because I had
Mhm.
so many preconceived notions of what I thought everyone else should do if that happened to them. If that
Right.
happened to me, I would just do this, that, and the other thing. And I can't believe she's staying in the marriage. La, la, la. I was judge me, judge me, judge me, judge me eyes, like all over the place, Captain
Yeah.
Judgy Pants. And I remember saying this, if I ever get cancer, I'm never doing chemo. I would never put poison in my body. And that's
Mm.
the universe being like, "Really, Babs? Here you go. Let's see what you're gonna do." And what I learned from both of those experiences is that judgment is one of the most toxic things that we do to ourselves, not unto anybody
So
else.
true.
We might be judging other people, but that judgment is one of the most toxic, insidious saboteurs of our own abundance,
Mhm.
happiness, and prosperity.
Yeah.
And why I came to terms with it because, for my kids, I wanna share that part was I stopped judging things. Like, I was like, I don't know. My daughter was 4 or 5 when I finished chemo,
Mm.
and she's got this thing, like, she just, like, loves the camera, and she had this, like, moxie that I didn't really have. Like, it just I know everyone's like, "Oh, you love the camera." It's a different kind of moxie. We all have moxie. She had a different kind of moxie. And I saw it and I was like and people be like, "You should probably put her on camera." And I was like I would hear myself, "Well, all child actors and models, they become, they go into porn and become drug addict, heroin addicts." But what I've come to learn that narrative is literally what Us Weekly and People Magazine leads us to believe because that's the only story that they're gonna play. And so that's the only narrative that I had. And I'm like, "Why am I literally just buying into propaganda?" I never have been in the industry. I don't know anything about it. So I was in this new mindset of like, I don't judge anything and I'm going to go ahead and see if this is what she wants to do. We register our kids for soccer and tennis and golf but then we decided that's not for my kid and my kid would never. Well, I became like, I don't know what's for my kid. I'm not here. I'm only here to open up doors. I'm not here to pick the doors. I'm just here to open up as many doors as possible.
Right.
Anyway, I send her picture off. They bring us in for an interview. She's like lights up like a Christmas tree. We start getting bookings for modeling. My daughter and I ended up getting flown to Puerto Rico. Me and my 5-year-old daughter flown to Puerto Rico. We got flown. Flew into Portugal was our next photo shoot. We've worked with the editor of Vogue out of Paris or Cosmopolitan. I forget which one, and I don't even remember her name, but I just remember being like, "Oh my god, we are like literally in proximity or to like." Unbelievable people. The point of the story is my daughter ended up loving it and she still loves it. So she does modeling and she did the
Wow.
Nutcracker and she does all this like artsy, theatery modeling stuff. Nothing I had anything. But had I stayed in that space of like all kids that do that stuff become prostitutes, I would have never I flew and I had this experience too where she walked across the stage at Cipriani's in this Oscar de la Renta fashion show or whatever. She beamed. Carey, you have a daughter.
Mm.
When your daughter is like operating at their highest expression of
I see
themselves.
my daughter every day.
I was bawling.
Yeah.
And not because she was like this cute little kid model, but because she was in her zone. She just owned it. And I just was like, "Oh my god, I she's so happy in this moment." And I brought her to this experience. She still remembers it. She still loves that stuff. As soon as she doesn't like it, let me tell you something, I'm out, because nobody's more inconvenienced than the mother. Like, I just sit there and twiddle my thumbs in like a folding chair. They're like, "Oh, mom, you just sit over there in the folding chair, the cold folding chair with the like pizza in a like, it's horrible. It's a horrible thing." But the kids love it. Anyway, the point of the story and the reason why I'm so passionate about sharing is I hate for people to wait till they're confronted with their own mortality
Mhm.
before they start operating at their highest expression of themselves. And when I say that, I talk so much about one of my biggest obstacles for happiness and abundance and opportunity. The biggest obstacle in my way was me judging all the things instead of choosing curiosity
Yeah.
or choosing, compassion. Like,
Yeah.
why am I judging that person? I didn't walk their mile
Grace.
in the shoes.
Yes.
And then the universe is like, always like, "Hey, you wanna judge that person? Here's their shoes, go walk in it." Like, I'm like, "Really?" I needed to walk in that. I really did. I needed to walk a
Yeah.
mile in
I
another
understand
person's shoes,
this.
and it's made me such a better person because we can catch ourselves in judgment and
Yeah.
be like, "Let me try one of 2 things. Let me get curious and then make a more informed decision
Mhm.
like I did with the modeling, or let me just offer up compassion because maybe you see somebody not operating from their highest expression, maybe having road rage, maybe having a moment in sports,
Mhm.
and be like, they're probably battling something I know nothing
Yeah.
about. So let me just go ahead." So
Yeah.
those are the
So
things that have
good.
helped
So,
me
so good.
transcend.
Couple things you brought up that I really love, Barbara, is that I agree with you. I hope people don't wait until something traumatic happens in their life to make the choice to really step into all they are. Another co-mentor and friend you and I have, Dave Meltzer, talks about this all the time, right? And I just love that because unfortunately, because of the fear and the doubt, imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, all the things, we wait, unfortunately, for the rug to get ripped out right from
Yeah.
underneath us. Yep. And then you go, what am I doing? It's like a wake-up call. And I love that you talk so much about the judgment because, with my situation, two times suicide survivor, before we had this happen to our little ideal family, when we would hear about people taking their life, I remember specifically in our neighborhood, a dad taking his life many years before my husband and my son. And I remember as a family, we were just appalled that somebody could do that to their family, right? And now, of course, we didn't know what we didn't know. And on the hindsight, it's just when people say, how can you not be angry? They just don't understand that it's a disease. They weren't in their right mind. It's not that they did this to us.
Mhm.
It's just, unfortunately, the path that we have had to walk, like you, and what we've learned from that and taken away. So, so many good points. So, what were some of the things when we were going through all this that helped you get through it?
When I was going through, it's funny because people ask me a lot about going through cancer, which was hard, watching my kids watch me.
Yeah.
And my 2 boys were in 6th grade and 4th grade, and my daughter was too young to understand what was going on, but my boys were very aware,
I'm
and they were
sure.
very scared, and they had their meltdowns each at different times.
Mhm.
So I would say that was the hardest part of cancer, but I saw it in a bigger picture, and I knew that it was a great opportunity for the kids to see how you handle tough times, you can't I couldn't change my diagnosis. I had no authority over that, but I had full authority over my attitude, over my diagnosis, and how I conducted myself. And I just chose to walk twice a day. People are, "Can I bring you a casserole?"
Okay.
I said, "No." I said, "Come over, we'll go for a walk." Even on my worst chemo days, and it was cold, I went January through June for my chemo. I was prepared to walk because walking was me taking control of my health and
Mhm.
helping me, I felt, metabolize the poison that was being put in my body to kill the
Right.
cancer. But it really what was real so that was hard, but I took stock of what I controlled, and it was my attitude and my effort to battle it, and that was it. And modeling what I would hope my kids would model when they were handed their bad hand,
Oh,
because
yeah.
nobody comes out unscathed. The hardest part, my harder chapter was divorce. Cancer, nobody's like coming at you. Nobody's mean to you in cancer. Just
Mm.
I drew the short stick. Divorce, whoo. I had
Mhm.
he hired celebrity attorneys. They terrorized me with threats to take a deal that was horrible based on a false narrative that and I had an attorney, my original attorney who didn't believe my story, believed his story. So she's telling me to take this deal and I'm going, but this is based in a false narrative. But I didn't know what was the truth because I didn't know that his premarital standing. Anyway, I fought and fought and I stood up to some I just can't even believe this story belongs in a movie. But your question is what got me through? I always have this delusional optimism. And it's actually not delusional because I'm never wrong. But even in the darkest of times, I have this sensibility about myself of like, this won't last. I'm going through this to get to higher ground. I chose divorce because I wanted a better marriage. I wanted to be married to somebody I could grow old with and have a
Mhm.
really amazing life with. I was not gonna have that life with the person I was with. We took our marriage as far as we could. We have 3 great kids. It wasn't a failure, but man, that divorce was a doozy. But I think that faith that, like, I am gonna have a really magical life, has been never has failed me, and it has always worked out. Um, I remember reading a quote by Gabby Bernstein. So in the middle of my divorce, I'm COVID hits. We're on mandatory lockdown. I'm on mandatory lockdown with my future ex-husband who's already moved in with his future next wife, and her kid. He's already got a home with her, and he's in lockdown with me in the main marital house to squeeze me out, like, just make her so uncomfortable that she breaks. This was to me, make sure she
Mm.
breaks. And, in the middle of all this, my son starts having seizures. So I'm in forced lockdown with my future ex-husband, who's already moved on, and, I've got 3 kids being homeschooled. We're in COVID, so it's already miserable, and my son he's been diagnosed with epilepsy, but puberty hits and he starts having seizures.
Mm.
And I look up to the skies and I am like, "I did not survive cancer for this." I went from the fryer to the frying pan, and I was like, "What?" And I had a television segment the next day filming from home, which is a whole 'nother disaster fire, dumpster fire. Anyway, I read this quote by Gabby Bernstein, and it said, "When you think you can't surrender anymore, surrender some more." And
Yeah.
I just needed that, and I was like, "You know what? I have to have faith that the universe is conspiring in my favor. And
Yeah.
although I do not understand what is happening to me, I do have a faith that it is happening for me and I will get through this." But that quote just was like, because I was in such sheer like, what is this? Like, I turn around and my son is having a seizure on the floor. My 16-year-old son, and maybe he was 15 at the time. I'm like, oh my and that was that's a whole whole 'nother story,
Mhm.
but and I
Yeah.
wasn't wrong. I surrendered. I said, "Okay, the universe is conspiring in my favor. I believe in a higher authority. I'm gonna, like, let it go." I ended up this is crazy. I end up that afternoon downloading this random app called Clubhouse, which is this drop-in audio app that was a
I
big
was
thing
hoping
dur
you would mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
So as I'm in this, like, despair of, like, "Oh my god, I can't even do TV now because I just need to stare at my son so it" because if he has a seizure, I need to catch it. I was like, "But I can listen to these audio conversations." I end up, like, jumping on these stages, engaging in dialogue, networking, connecting. I'm in proximity to people I would have never had connections to. It is bonkers for me because it turns out I'm really like, I'm a talker and I like dialogue on all like you but I'll talk real estate, I'll talk crypto, I'll talk NFTs, I'll talk leadership, entrepreneurship, mindset, health, wellness, cancer, divorce. I'll talk about, listen, the moon, the stars, and everything else. Anyway, that app led me to having some of the most impactful relationships that I
Mhm.
have had in my adult life.
Yeah.
Uh, and now I'm on Twitter Spaces. I've spoken at 10X Ladies. I work with Sharon Lechter and Grant Cardone and Nelson Apega. I do work with Peter Siegel and Brian Benstock. These are just I'm just dropping these names because they're all names that people, if they don't know now, they will know down the line. I'm in business with some of these people. I've literally built businesses, opened up corporations with these people,
Mhm.
invested in private aviation, and like, so that's when I thought I could handle no more. I just surrendered to the faith that things were going to work out as dark as things were. And things were dark. You can tell because I was like 98 pounds at the time. My go-to is not eating when I'm under stress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's
I
yes,
love
that's
that
my
you
hand.
are pointing this out because this is the thing that at the end of the day, when people ask me, "How in the world did you get not only get through that, but you're functioning and
Yeah.
thriving now?" And when I tell people, there were all sorts of things I did, like you did walking, right?
Yep.
I had my own way of handling things. I went inward. My daughter went straight into counseling. I went in. So I have a habit every morning now, Barbara, that's like non-negotiable for me that I am in total quiet time for at least an hour or more, depending on the day and how I'm feeling. But at the end of the day, it is, I literally have a plaque in my bathroom. So it's the last thing I see when I walk out of there that has the word surrender on it.
Mhm. Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah.
all about the faith. Believing I have to believe, and this is in quotes like Gabby Bernstein's, and it's biblical that everything is for good. It doesn't look like it in the moment, and some days it absolutely is it just sucks that I've lost
Mhm.
half my family, but I have to believe, like you, that I'm to use this for what hopefully you and I are doing now, which is pouring in a lot of hope to people who are going through whatever adversity they're going through now, right?
100%. I'm right there with you. We track
Yeah,
in the same way of like, I can't change things. And some things that do make us bitter and they do make us, they break our soul,
our hearts, yes.
break our hearts, but we are still here to live a magical life until it's
Yeah,
over. And then we meet again until we meet again.
right.
But while we're here, it's to make the best
Yeah.
and experience all the emotions. Um, but man, yeah, and I'm in the same space with you where I'm actually launching. I do these challenges
Yeah,
with
I was gonna
people.
ask you to to share that with everybody. You do these you're like the queen of challenges that people just love.
And I love hosting them.
Yeah,
I just feel there's this, like, missing link, like, everybody gets motivated and inspired by motivational speakers and books that just are transformative,
right,
but the truth is you can't read a book on how to get pregnant and expect to have a baby. And you have to do the things to get the things.
right.
You can't buy a Peloton and get in shape. You can't download an app and lose 30 pounds.
Mhm.
That's not the answer. Information doesn't lead to transformation, action does. And that was the impetus for me launching these I do live challenges. This isn't like an automated thing. This is we're starting together, we're going to finish together. And in the middle, when it gets mundane and it gets boring, I'm going to show you where the magic happens because we're going to get through that together. So I do these challenges. I do a 90-day workout challenge that starts March 1st, runs through Memorial Day. You get one mulligan, one day off, but it's a commitment to work out every single day. I believe movement can can literally change every vertical in your life
Yeah,
because when you stay active and you get that oxygen going, man, it changes your life.
yeah.
So I do that. I do a holiday challenge, same thing. And then I do 14-day intensives, which are a real deep dive into self development, like little nuggets of information. It's three W's: water, walking, and writing. There are three commitments or
I love that.
they're really three challenges for 14 days
Okay.
paralleling all the action actually runs in junction with part of the necessities, the pillars of transformation. So like drinking water, so I always have water next to me.
Yeah,
So like drinking water, so water, walking, writing. Water is actually an action that is one of the non-negotiables, but the concept in my programs, the water is not just about flushing toxins out of your body. It's about in one of the pillars of transformation is discarding. You have to discard toxic thoughts, toxic narratives, toxic beliefs, things
mhm,
that have been running on a cassette tape on loop that are no longer serving you. Just like we talked about judgment. Like
right.
we have to acknowledge that that judgment hurts only ourselves. And it's time to move it out of our process. Like I always say, I'm like flood the toxicity out of the body. So through the 14 days, I address not only judgment, I address goal setting and gratitude and legacy and destiny and the people that you surround yourself with. So it's a
Yeah.
14-day intensive, and I love them. So I'm doing a 14-day intensive. My next one is for divorcees, and it starts February 1st and ends on Valentine's Day. But I just think what I don't know about you, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. When I was going through divorce, I tried to get into like a group therapy. Like I was like, I just need
Mhm.
like I need to be around other people that are
Mhm.
going through this
Yeah.
misery. So I signed up for a Facebook group, and it was a trauma dump. And I was like,
Yeah.
I cannot take on anybody else's
Yeah.
trauma right now. I'm in my own. I needed like I just wanted to know that I wanted a love story. I
Yeah.
wanted to sit and watch Hallmark movies all day. Just so that's why I created I was like, this is a space to be in a community where people understand what you're going through because divorce sucks, but your life doesn't have to. Um, but understand
Mhm.
there's like you are the creator of your own destiny and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And this isn't just about a trauma dump and commiserating because divorce does suck, but also creating love and abundance and opportunity and
Right.
space in your life for the good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So many juicy nuggets here, Barbara. I definitely have to have you come back. And to answer your question, I totally agree with you. I did not go into group counseling because I knew that a lot of times you get into a group like that where it's a lot of talking about, like you've said several times, the narrative and the bad stuff and the sorrow and the woe. I needed to really, like I said, go inward to find out who I was and to connect to God. And also to be super careful about who I surrounded myself with. Right. So, really great advice. So,
yeah, and, you need to have that safe space. I think I like being around people that have been through what I've been through, so we can
yeah,
take these moments because you need that connectivity,
yeah,
um, but also that clarity of I I like the safe space of being able to be commiserative, like,
yeah,
really, like, let's connect on this miserable note, but let's be aligned with the good life.
right.
Let's be aligned with like, let's think about traveling and opportunity and adventure to,
Yep,
like, date and explore and try new things and, like, the whole, like, I don't know, what fills our soul, like,
yeah,
that kinda stuff, and
yeah,
I did not find that when I was going through divorce, so I created it.
yeah. I tend to do the same thing. "Okay, we don't have that? Alright, let's make one."
I'll make it. I'm like, "Alright,
I've
let's do
made up
these."
masterminds, retreats, events. I'm like you, a big collaborator. So, I love that. Yeah, if it's not there, then I'll just, make it happen. So,
Yeah, and I'm hoping to do like, that's what I just wanna keep growing it and
yeah,
seeing if there's other opportunities again, like for work with you and how you can bring your experience to help
mhm,
others, in a very constructive way,
yeah,
in a not just a like again, information only takes you so far. It's
yep.
doing the things that
It's
make
the
you feel
action.
healthier. And
Yeah. Yep.
walking, exercising, writing in a
Writing. I
journal.
wrote those. I'm gonna write that down, the 3 W's. I love that. I'm gonna put that
Oh,
into
I'm
action for
like
myself.
obsessed with it.
Yeah,
Because it does these are all actionable, deployable, easy things that we can do
right.
every single day to help move our life forward.
Yeah,
They're not, I'm just like when I've been through stressful times, it's like I just have to grab my sneakers and go for a walk. But
yeah.
not everyone has that in their arsenal, and I'm trying to put it in more arsenals of
Yeah.
like, grab your sneakers, we're going for a walk.
All
You
right.
have a
Well,
problem?
I'm coming to New Jersey to do that walk with you.
Good, go. We'll walk the campus, we'll do the things.
I would
We're
love
gonna
that
summer,
so,
we'll
so
walk
much.
the beach.
I just love your energy. You make me laugh. I love your whole attitude on life, Barbara. So thank you so, so much. You guys go check out Barbara Majeski because she's everywhere. Go get on you're on Clubhouse every Saturday morning. I believe at I want to say 8 a.m. Central Time.
8 a.m. Eastern Standard
Eastern
Time,
Time,
yep,
yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Gotta get on there. It's amazing people. I'm making a commitment, Barbara, to do that myself, and thank you so, so much. And get in her challenges, you all. I'm signing up for one. This just sounds like so much fun. So,
It's great, well, thanks, Carrie, I
yeah.
appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here. Thanks you all for listening to this episode of Moving Through and Beyond. I'm Carey, Conley, your host, reminding you to keep looking up. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please share it with a friend or a family member. In order to be successful on this mission, I can't do it alone. Connect with me at www.careyconley.com, and don't forget to sign up for my weekly Do It On Purpose newsletter. Let's build this life-giving vision movement together to end this epidemic, save lives, and create purpose.